Here we are, everybody. Derbyites, we're back. The Golden Globes have aired. The high holiday of the first award show of this season of this year has aired. And all I've got to say is, what the fuck? Okay, we've got a lot to unpack. I'm here with Amanda Spears and Charlie Bright, two of my favorite people in this rabble of ridiculous, moron, crazy award nuts that we are. And there's some good, there's some bad, there's some freaking ugly. And most importantly, what we do need to talk about, in the immortal words of our fearless leader, Tom O'Neill, how did tonight change the narrative? And there's a few of those threads that we can talk about. But first up, okay, let's not ignore the elephant in the room. Who wants to go first and talk us through the shock and awe?
Well, I will start because we all remember what happened last time I was shocked, and I had to pay several $100s for a new monitor.
Thanks, Margot
Martindale. I'm still waiting for that check.
He'll take Venmo, Bitcoin, and PayPal if you don't want to.
I will just take minutes in your presence because I love her so much. But anyhow,
sorry, Kevin's joined us. Kevin, you've just missed. We've just had a little tantrum. We've been screaming, screeching, crying. There's been some tears and anger. Charlie,
you have reached Globes Reaction Central 101 and Recovery Group.
Basically,
basically.
So it was something along the lines of, "What the fuck was that?" Charlie's going to go first. She's so upset. She just had to leave the room.
I don't blame her.
She needed a moment.
She just needed a moment to powder her nose. So, Charlie, you keep talking, and then we'll go. As soon as Charlie's done, Kevin, you pipe in. But go ahead.
All right.
So, I mean, I just don't know what to make of this. I think Best Picture now is just completely wide open now. I have no idea what to make of that race. It's completely wide open. I don't think Green Book is necessarily the favorite, but Lord knows what is going to happen on that front. And if I think Malick probably has cemented himself as the front runner for Best Actor. Regina King, her Oscar odds just improved dramatically because now she has a televised win. And since she won't win at SAG, and regardless of what happens at BAFTA, she has a moment where she, got to, get up on stage and declare herself, and she looked like a winner. Glenn Close coming out of, I don't know what to think of that.
Man.
I mean, that was a great speech, but I don't know what to think about the Best Actress race because Olivia Colman. Wow, she was fantastic when she won.
No, but seriously, Glenn Close, man, that was the audition. Like, come on, love. You are going for that motherfucker. You are going for that Oscar. 100%.
Well, I mean, we'll see whether or not the speeches actually make a factor in this.
See what happens when Matt's not in charge? You get the unedited version, the uncensored version.
This is the other Australian
It's after dark.
It's
after dark.
Kevin,
since Michael Dukakis After Dark has things been so risque.
Sorry about my dog knocking my computer over. I apologize.
That's okay. We thought you were just so upset, so verklempt that you needed a moment.
No, my dog tipped my computer over.
Hey, Kevin, what was your WTF moment, obviously, from the night?
Oh, boy. Well, definitely Bohemian Rhapsody at the end was just like a punch in the face. It's just like, wow. Okay, this actually happened. I guess we should have trusted the sort of information that we got from a few notable people who talked to the HFPA that were like, we really love Bohemian Rhapsody. And I thought that was going to be like, okay, we're going to give it to Rami Malek. That's the reward for Bohemian Rhapsody. Then they're like, nope, we're going to give it the big one too. So it's like, okay, not thrilled with that. I'll just say that up front. But on the flip side, extremely excited for Glenn Close. That came out of absolute nowhere for me, and I'm absolutely thrilled for her. And she was probably the most shocked of anyone. It was such a great reaction shot and such an incredible speech. It was like she was winning the actual Oscar. The way she was so emotional about it.
I really think that what helps both Olivia Colman and Glenn Close is that when Gaga had her moment winning song, she shouldn't have spoken. She should have just let those songwriters pay tribute to her and just let her stand there and hold it. The fact that she couldn't just let it be and grabbed the mic and had to give that speech at the end. I'm like, to nitpick a little bit, that wasn't necessary. Like, let them just, do their thing, because they really honored you in a way where you didn't need to say anything.
Yeah.
But I think that, like, Glenn Close, the standing ovation, the tears in her eyes over this means so much to me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. She has to win the SAG award. That's the problem. It's like, as much as this is lovely and everything, she has to win SAG.
She can.
Because if you hear that soft humming noise in the background, that's Colman's name going on the BAFTA. So the last award that she can win is the SAG Awards, unless that like narrative really takes off. If she won BAFTA, I'd be shocked.
What if the BAFTA like her? The wife is a European film. You'd never know.
I mean, she could, but I'm just, when they have a hometown favorite that's like that in the race, the BAFTAs will usually go that way. Yeah. But she still has to win there. But I just thought the ceremony was kind of dull overall, and then the last 10, 15 minutes gave us this
so dull
energy, and like Malik, like, Bridges, this is how you give a speech.
Yeah.
Oh, lay off Jeff Bridges. Jeff Bridges does what Jeff Bridges does, okay?
Dude.
Lay off Jeff Bridges.
But you know what? Like, so I was super bored, and then Best Actress in a Drama was coming up, so I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's sit on the edge of our couch and watch Lady Gaga win her award, and then bang, Glenn Close. And I was so shocked, happily shocked, even though I'm a huge fan of Gaga in that movie. And I think she deserves to win awards. But Glenn Close, like, let's just be very clear that she really deserves to win an award for that performance as well. And she's so overdue. And the narrative now is going to be all about her. And that speech was absolutely perfect. And she's totally now changed everything.
And you could tell it wasn't planned. Like, you.
Yeah, it was emotional.
And you could tell, like, Michael Douglas, like, grabbed her arm to give her a hug. Like, you could tell there was, like, everybody was happy about that.
And I feel bad for Gaga. You could see that she was slightly disappointed. Happy for Glenn Close, but disappointed. And she'll probably now have to wait her turn. I can't imagine now, if the Oscars was tomorrow, it would be a done deal. Who knows what's going to happen in the next few weeks, right? But okay, we've got to talk about other stuff. There's something that I need to tell you guys, because when we were having our pre-show, it was all about the favorite can't win comedy because the director Yorgos Lanthimos isn't nominated. Well, that didn't matter in drama. How the hell is Bohemian Rhapsody? How many nominations did it have? 2?
2.
Yep.
And it won both.
One vote.
It swept.
Does this happen very often? Where a best drama film can just pull it out of the hat with nothing else to show?
The good thing is they at least went popular. I mean, they didn't go like for the little indie. I mean, no offense to if Beale Street could talk.
Yeah.
But they didn't go like for the little independent film where no one's seen it. I mean, we know everybody's seen Bohemian Rhapsody. And
I haven't.
I haven't either. But
a lot of people have seen it. A lot of people have
seen it.
It's not the one where, like, come on, I waited up all night to see this when.
I know, but the thing is, like, Amanda and Charlie, the three of us said earlier that if anything was going to take Star is Born down, it was going to be the two black the movies are starting with the word Black Klansman or Black Panther. We didn't see this coming at all. No one did. If anyone predicted this, I'd love to know, and I'd love to know how you thought that could have possibly happened, apart from hearing that HFPA members liked the movie. Shocking. But we do have to talk about other stuff. So what else?
Yeah.
I want to say something, and then I want to hear from Kevin. I thought Sandra Oh and Andy Samberg weren't very good. I thought they were really boring, and it was just off. What did you think?
I thought they had I keyed into their sense of humor. I guess it's sort of it's almost like a David Letterman type of thing where, like, you can either glob onto this kind of humor or you can just be like, this is awful and stupid. So I think
I thought their misses were more than their hits. Like, they
were very good. Even as fans of them.
You're both right on that.
Yeah.
And I feel like Sandra Oh was trying a little too hard to keep up with Samberg. I think, like, Samberg could have done that by himself personally. I think they wanted a woman, and, like, Maya Rudolph wasn't available. Like, why can't she host people?
Isn't she? She was funny, man.
I love that.
Why can't they? Yeah. I mean, they can't get an SNL alum. Why can't they just get her? Like, come on, Lorne Michaels. Like,
yeah. Well, That's it. Okay, well, we're done. See ya.
We're done.
No, I mean, there's a lot of other little things that kind of surprised me. So, on the drama side, we were saying earlier, you know, the Americans, not likely going to happen. They don't even watch that show. One, I was very surprised by that. Even though I had it in second, miraculously, I really thought it was going to be one of the new ones, one of the shiny toys, and it wasn't. It was the Americans. What's the explanation for that?
Well, it's sort of like, you know, Tom always says the apple in a basket of oranges. The rest were new shows. The Americans was the only veteran there.
Yeah.
And I think it appealed to them. It just, I guess every other circumstance was something that just didn't work for the HFPA. It's like when you're trying to contact someone and you're like, oh, Thursday's no good. How about next week? Oh, okay, that doesn't work. Well, we'll try again in 7 months.
I feel like there wasn't one that stood out amongst the others enough where it's like, this is the new show.
It wasn't one that just it. Yeah, there wasn't one that just like popped out that was the most obvious one.
I have to say,
so
I was just surprised.
Outlander and Empire and Mr. Robot a couple years ago. It was like, Mr. Robot is the new show. There wasn't one where it was like,
I was surprised just with drama series, the fact that it was earlier in the show and then they saved drama actress for later. I thought it was going to be like, oh, maybe Kerry Russell could win this because they like to do those little pairings, you know. But it was the host.
Yeah, they kind of gave us a nice, crazy surprise, but I think Amy Adams, like class act, she really handled it well because, you know, everyone had to stop and pay their respects to her all night, and then
I'm sure she's very thrilled for her. I'm sure she's thrilled for her co-stars that won, Christian Bale and Patricia Clarkson. But I am sure it's also like, oh,
she must be getting tired of losing.
And my advice to Regina King is, I know you're not nominated at SAG, and I don't even know if Beale Street is not eligible at BAFTA. But if your people are watching this, have her present.
Yeah.
Make her go to the ceremony because they don't know if she's actually nominated. They'll just be like, well, she was there. I saw her with a SAG award in her hands.
I mean, Regina, I want to see more of her. She looked amazing, by the way, tonight. I think she's probably one of the best looking ones.
Classic you, Rob, she makes this a momentous speech. You talk about how she looks. Shame on her.
Me too.
I'll say something relevant. I think she should already be an Oscar nominee for Ray. So
there you go. There you go. Just quickly back on A Star Is Born. Regardless of what you think of the film, this was a movie that anyone in their right mind would have said that's a movie that the HFPA will love. It's their kind of film. It only walked away with one. The last time A Star Is Born was made, it won 5 out of 5. What happened? What happened? Is it just because
I think it's a little bit of been there, done that. I mean, how many? This is the fourth one. Like, I mean, I'm sorry to be that person, but I'm like, you know, if you've honored the Judy Garland version and the Barbra Streisand version, eventually you're going to start comparing version to version. And I think there's a kind of a thing. It's like, how many times can we award the same movie?
Yeah, I also think sometimes they just like to go against the grain of what a lot of people are saying, as far as like, oh, we're not, like everyone was saying A Star Is Born is going to be the HFPA's movie. Like they're going to love this. It's got stars and they're sexy and it's a musician turned actor and all this stuff. But then they're like, actually, we're independent thinkers and we want to go in our own direction sometimes.
Yeah.
And Netflix, who had a better night than Netflix? Oh, yeah.
I know, right? They're killing it. They're really killing it. So that brings me to this. Obviously,
I just want to point out one thing. You say, how could they give it to the same that, you know, they're saying been there, done that. You know, Driving Miss Daisy won the Best Picture Musical or Comedy Award in 1989.
I know. Don't get me started.
And Driving Miss Daisy, you know, Testosterone Edition just pulled off 3 wins.
True.
I know. But we're talking about the second and not the fourth. So
they really, and it wasn't
okay. So we have to wait for the next 2 versions.
I don't want to live to see the next 2.
They really liked Green Book, obviously. The Screenplay Award was the shock for me. I was very much expecting the favorite to win that one. I don't think the screenplay of Green Book was necessarily its strong point, and I did really love that film. But that was strong. Only Vigo was their only loss, I think. So
and director.
Of course, yes. And Peter Farrelly, yes. Thank you.
I want to hear what the other Farrelly brother thinks about Peter Farrelly being
a serious auteur. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know it's not funny, but it's just.
But if we're talking about how the Globes have now shaped the race, because the Critics' Choice is next week, and then we obviously have SAG, BAFTA. If where we stand right now, obviously, Star is Born down, Green Book up, Bohemian Rhapsody up, Roma up. Roma wasn't obviously not eligible in the Best Drama category because it won Foreign Language, but it also won for Director. Alfonso Cuaron, he just wins everything. That film, whether you love it or not, definitely is going to be a player when it comes to the Oscars. Don't you agree? What do you think, Charlie?
I don't think for Best Picture. I remember when I saw Roma, and I thought to myself, this is beautiful. I'm not necessarily for me, but I do appreciate it's beautiful. It's not winning Best Picture, not under a preferential ballot.
I mean, a foreign language film has never won Best Picture in the handful of films nominated.
It's not even that. It's just it's not even that I think is counting against it. I think that could that never actually factored into my thinking. I think actually it's just I think there are going to be a solid group of people that have it number one, but I think for the people that weren't as crazy about it, they're probably going to rank it like 4th or 5th. And
plus, it's got the Netflix bias. They may not be ready to give a streaming service. So.
I don't even think that's that much. I mean, it may be for the Academy, but I don't know. I think Roma is. I think Cuarón is still the front runner for director. I so want Spike Lee to win. And every day that goes past, it just feels like it's just another nail in the coffin against him. And for all the things that people say about the wonder of diversity, it's like Spike Lee could do that too. And we've never had a Black Best Director winner. In addition to the fact that the movie is magnificent.
Yeah. And
I feel like Cuarón was a disservice to himself because he was so good when he won for Gravity. I mean, he was one of the highlights of the evening speech-wise at the Globes, talking about giving Sandra Bullock herpes, and meaning an earpiece. Like, he gave a real good speech. Yeah. And I don't know if it was like the repeat that kind of hurt him, but I still think there is a way for Spike Lee to win. And if it's not Spike Lee, and you're going to give this to Alfonso Cuarón, he better not win cinematography. I swear to God, that better go to Rachel Morrison, or I am going to be so mad.
Well, you just better be prepared to be mad because he's got that one in the bag.
Cinematography?
Yeah. Cuarón has that one in the bag.
Well, what about the Polish cinematographer for Cold War? That's a possibility too. I think.
Oh yeah, sure.
But it's not playing as big. It's gonna be Roma.
Well, the thing is, okay. So here's another thing. So what else? What was there anything else that you thought? Okay, you really strengthened your chances this Oscar season. Any of you?
I guess I would say First Man winning original score.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
Somewhat notable.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I mean, that score has been really acclaimed.
Yeah,
I think the score's acclaimed. The problem is that ever since they've expanded to more than 5, your odds are significantly helped if you're in a Best Picture nominee. So he could still run into problems because First Man is not going to get into the top 9 films. No, it's not going to happen.
Right. I don't think
the knives were out for Damien Chazelle. He's really young to win twice. So, I mean, when you think of some of those that haven't won, I could see a little snobbery coming into play. But I think that it's going to be interesting to see what the SAG Awards do.
Yeah.
Because, if one of those 5 films won Best Picture, including Bohemian Rhapsody, I'd be okay with that. I really would, because they're 5 pretty populous films. And I think this year...
Shudder.
I think they need a more popular winner. I do. I don't think they need a Beale Street Could Talk or a Roma. I think they need
I think you have a really good point. I think if Bohemian Rhapsody wins, that'll be huge. A lot of people would love that movie.
I don't think that could happen, but I don't count out a Black Panther. I mean, I think Crazy Rich Asians would be that would be a very hard road for them to climb. But if you're looking at the 5 ensemble film nominees down the road, one of those 5 films won, it would be kind of a nice change of pace, because those are films most people would want to go see. The Shape of Water is one of those films where even trying to explain it, people are like, "What? No, that's weird." Well, and I really want Spike Lee to win.
You don't knock it till you try it.
Yeah.
Come on, people. And I have a question, Kevin. Would Rami Malek make history as the first Middle Eastern descendant to win Best Actor? Or
I think actor, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Sharif never won, right?
No.
Wow, that's interesting.
And I'd have to check F. Murray Abraham, but I mean, I'm not going to get into that. But you're saying I'm thinking that
I don't know.
Okay. Well,
I was just saying that I think probably one of the biggest surprises for me tonight was Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse actually winning Best Animated Film. I did not think that was going to happen. I think that film just actually probably just solidified itself as an Oscar frontrunner. I think the only thing that could probably possibly get in its way is Isle of Dogs. If I can't remember which studio put that out, but I think it was Searchlight. Yeah, it was Searchlight. If Fox Searchlight plays up the fact that this would be really plays up the fact that this would be an opportunity to give Wes Anderson an Oscar.
Yeah, I think that's the narrative to look out for. Look out for the BAFTA winner. If Wes Anderson's Isle of Dogs wins, I will at the BAFTA. I would go with that, just because I think they really probably should have given him original screenplay.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to call in Daniel, Tony, and Riley to join us.
I think that the good news for Sandra Oh is that for her, if she's going to win Best Drama Actress at the Emmys and make history, she's taken a really good first step in solidifying her place, because it's still going to be an uphill climb to get Killing Eve to the Best Drama 7. But if she keeps all of the good, positive PR going and wins the SAG and has a great season 2, she looks more and more like the eventual Emmy winner. But did anyone else love seeing Daenerys and Winterfell in the HBO commercial? It's like, we're not in the drama category, but check out what we've got coming, bitches. Sorry.
I think Tony's whine and sigh just explained everything better for me than I could ever do on my own.
Yeah.
Well, can you send some of that my way? I know I'm 1,500 miles away, but please do.
We're just waiting for Riley, but it looks like we're probably going to have to say goodbye to Amanda, Charlie, and Kevin. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I've been in this square for 30 some odd years, and I'm not going anywhere.
So, Charles, if you want to just
thank you, Paul Lind.
Wait for us to finish the chat, and once I've stopped recording, you can join us because we'll probably have more kvetching to do. But anyway, get out.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.
All right. Peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings. Thoughts and prayers. I got to say one thing while we wait for Riley, because I'm a bit more calm now, guys. But seriously, WTF. What the hell happened? Tell me. Someone explain this to me, because I just don't get it.
Well, luckily for me, I'm drinking the wine, but I didn't actually get to experience it because my cable went out.
What?
Like right after Glenn Close's speech, and didn't come on until halfway through Bohemian Rhapsody.
Is that why you were
I was like, yeah.
What happened? Yeah. I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah, I was like, what's going on? I don't know. I'm kind of stunned. I'm really kind of stunned.
There were crickets in that room. Do you think? Was that just me? Was that my cable? Because it was silence. It was like Bohemian Rhapsody.
You'll have to tell me.
Silence. What did you reckon, Daniel?
I don't know if I heard crickets. It's weird when on one of these award show nights, I'm only like a quarter actually watching the television. I hear a winner, and I'm doing 50 other odd things. So I do remember there being a kind of shock, but I don't know if it was silence. Maybe I'm just remembering Nicole Kidman, just look at her face when she opened that envelope. I don't know. I mean, every once in a while, there are only 90 some odd members of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, and they have, shall we say, an ambivalent relationship with awards predictors. So every once in a while, I wonder if they look at our odds and they try to be contrarian. And we know from Tom's reporting that we know they really did like Bohemian Rhapsody, and a lot of us were predicting Rami Malek to win. Anyway, I wasn't. My prediction score for film was doing okay until those last three. I had A Star Is Born in all three. So that would be my conspiracy theory thought about it. But I don't know. I mean, part of it's gratifying because if the Globes were really out to predict what's going to win the Oscar, if they really wanted to be those guys, they really shouldn't have done that.
You mean the critic? You mean if they were trying to be the Critics' Choice? Because that's what the
if they're trying to be the Critics' Choice, which is not like at this point. I think Rhapsody is looking pretty good for a Best Picture Oscar nomination, especially after PGA. Yeah. But I don't think anyone thinks it will win. Although at this point,
well, and here's the thing. Here's the thing. Even if Bohemian Rhapsody were to get nominated for Best Picture, which I think it probably will, is it going to get a directing nomination? Probably not. Is it going to get a screenplay nomination? Probably not. Is it going to get a ton of craft categories? Possibly a couple.
Possibly, yeah. I think I think I'm now looking at craft categories, thinking, okay, where is it going to get in? Because I feel like it's going to get in a bunch of places. Something. So I'm thinking, makeup and hair is a reasonable possibility. Costumes, I recently moved it into my top 5 for costumes. It could, it's a biopic covering a lot of time. If they like it that much, editing, sound mixing, it could come away with a significant number of nominations.
It could,
but so not director.
No, and that's the key. But look, let's be a bit more positive now, because as I was saying earlier, I sat down on the couch after the ad break because I was super bored, and I'm like, okay, I'm really excited to watch Lady Gaga win the award, and then bang, Glenn Close won. And for months, I've always felt slightly regretful for her, thinking, oh, she was the front runner months ago. We all thought this is going to be her turn, and then it kind of fizzled away. She's back now. I think she's totally back, not only because of the win, but because of her wonderful speech. Tony, what do you think?
And her reaction, she's going to get memes. That is going to be the meme of the night.
That'll outlast religion. That's going to be amazing.
I was looking at Twitter just like 5 minutes ago, and they're already starting. But here's the thing. I do the review of the telecast for Gold Derby, and I write feverishly during the show, and I always like to do a little something about the Oscar audition speech. And up until that point of the evening, I was pretty much focused on Regina King, who gave just a fantastic speech and did everything that she needed to do. And then Glenn Close happened.
Yeah.
And I had to rewrite that whole freaking paragraph because it was like every single box you would need to tick. It was the shock. I mean, her genuine shock. I know how great of an actress she is, but that was true, genuine shock. The standing ovation, both as she was walking up and in the middle of the speech. The content of the speech. She was funny. When she said, it was called The Wife. That's probably why it took 14 years to get made. She was funny. She was emotional. That whole thing about her mother and the sublimation of women. She just absolutely put herself, in my opinion, in the front runner position. Because here's the other thing about Glenn Close. Glenn Close is, the respected, overdue veteran. There's no arguing that. The fact that she got that room of people, many of whom are also Oscar voters, got them on their feet twice and said such wonderful, emotional, timely things, just increased them just loving her. Oh my God, I've forgotten how much I love Glenn Close. She very smartly said, here I am 45 years
she did that as well
into my career. And so that goodwill of, oh, wow, I could totally see that carrying over to SAG. I could totally see it carrying over to BAFTA. But even if she just wins one of those two, I think if she wins either SAG or BAFTA, I think she could be a really, really powerful contender.
100%.
Yeah, I've been predicting Glenn Close this entire time for the Oscar. Just sort of, I've had this lingering skepticism about Lady Gaga. Like, there's so much enthusiasm about her and the film, but I've had Bradley Cooper winning Best Actor, Sam Elliott supporting actor. I think it can win Best Picture without her winning Best Actress, especially because she'll win Best Song anyway, and she still will, it looks like. So I kept thinking, okay, are the Oscars gonna give Lady Gaga 2 Oscars in one night, while Glenn Close goes home with nothing? And so it was possible if the steamroller for A Star is Born kept going this way. But as soon as, like, of all awards groups, the Golden Globes went with Glenn Close.
Seriously.
I feel like it's and poor. The sad thing for Lady Gaga, especially in terms of Oscar audition, I think, sort of presuming that she might have another speech down the line, Mark Ronson gave most of the Best Song speech. So she didn't really have that moment in the spotlight tonight on stage as a winner, even though I think actually she came off incredibly well, just graciously throughout the night. She had that lovely moment with Glenn Close before Glenn Close went up on stage to accept. And so, I think now we're going to see a bit of a steam, like Critics' Choice, I think, or like we're watching and they're like, all right, here's who we're voting for now.
Yeah.
And I think SAG was going to be a harder win for Lady Gaga than the Globes were. I don't think Lady Gaga is going to win BAFTA. That could still probably be Coleman or maybe Glenn Close. So I really, like, as soon as that envelope opened and she was halfway into her speech and I think, like, yeah, Glenn Close just won the Oscar. She just won the Oscar.
And what was really interesting to me, I don't know if anybody else picked up on this, was what Gary Oldman said to her when he handed her the Globe. He said, "I saw your performance. It was extraordinary. I'm so happy for you." And that was audible.
Yeah.
And you have to wonder, with somebody with Glenn Close's stature and her presence in the industry, you have to wonder how many people are going to be feeling that same way. I mean, I feel like all the stars aligned for her.
But
literally, a sad choice of words for Lady Gaga.
And you know what? Like,
true.
Okay, but let's be very clear that an hour ago we were mostly convinced that this was going to be Lady Gaga's night. She's going to be Queen of the Globes, and Glenn Close, she was yesterday's news, and she'd have to wait for another time, if at all. So things change very, very quickly. The 6 major acting winners, they're all going to be in the Oscar hunt. So Mahershala Ali and Regina King. Regina King's hurt by the SAG snub, but I think she's definitely in the race, as is Mahershala, for a second Oscar. And then we have Christian Bale and Rami Malek. They seem to be now maybe the frontrunners in the actor category, assuming that they get nominated. And then we have Olivia Colman, who was also delightful up on stage, by the way, really lovely, typical of the kind of person that she is. And Glenn Close.
She was wonderful every time she was on stage, like presenting.
She's
she was just so charming, just so appealing.
And what a performance as well. Like, I mean, Gaga, amazing in A Star is Born, but Coleman was fantastic in The Favourite. The best thing about that movie, as was Glenn Close in a movie that I didn't really like but loved her performance. So what I'm getting at is, last year we seemed to have the same 4 winners at every single freaking show. It was killing me. It was so boring. I have a feeling, hopefully, that this year we're going to see a lot of maybe differences. And maybe Regina King might still win stuff and whatever, but we might see a few people in the race up until the very last second at the Oscars. And that is very, very exciting.
Well, I think one of the things that I think could hurt somebody like, say, Rami Malek is that as popular as Bohemian Rhapsody was as a box office hit, it was not a popular critical hit. And so with Critics' Choice, if he loses Critics' Choice, that could really hurt his momentum and open the door for maybe, somebody like Vigo or Bradley Cooper to get in there. I think the one thing that probably will be constant throughout this is Alfonso Cuaron. I really do think, and I'm going to slightly disagree with Amanda. I really thought I was touched by his speech, but particularly when he won director. I feel like, that was, this movie is so personal for him, and he got really choked up, because it's about where he grew up. It's about, his life, really. And so I think, he's the type of director, it's the type of film that you're like, okay, this is the directorial achievement of the year. So I think Cuaron is probably going to go the distance. He's probably going to win Critics' Choice. He's probably going to win at least DGA. And if he wins Critics' Choice and DGA, it's over. Yeah. Regardless of what happens, I assume he'd probably win BAFTA as well.
Yeah, it feels like he does feel like he's on a similar trajectory as Guillermo was last year, where he seemed to be fairly safe for director, even though Best Picture was still a big question mark. And Shape of Water ended up winning Best Picture along with director. I don't think that's going to happen to Roma, but I think, but in these days, it really it used to be like, oh, if it's going to win Best Director, it's got to win Best Picture, or if it's going to win Best Picture, it's got to win Best Director. That the preferential ballot for Best Picture has just sort of thrown that out the window. It's almost not even a consideration anymore. If Best Picture and director going hand in hand, they just don't need to anymore.
It's just such a completely different thing. There's another thing I want to talk about, and I'm looking at some of the comments in our YouTube window, and Daniel Keneally, he mentions that it seems with the Green Book success that there may be some scope for Farrelly to make it into the director lineup. Stranger things have happened. I'm thinking, who do we think are the most likely director nominees? Cooper, Cuaron, and then what?
Spike Lee.
Yeah.
I still have Yorgos getting in.
Yeah.
For the Oscar, although we'll see what happens with DGA and BAFTA. And then I've got Ryan Coogler. Again, this will depend on BAFTA and but his film is going to get probably, at the very least a half dozen nominations, maybe 8, 9, 10, 11 nominations, depending on if it overperforms or underperforms. I wrote an article a couple of weeks ago about how no film that has gotten 9 or more Oscar nominations has missed Best Director since Apollo 13 was the last one. Which was a shocker. Like, people were shocked that Ron Howard missed the directing nomination for that film. So I think
he won DGA.
Yeah, so I could see I can see Coogler getting in at DGA. BAFTA, I'm not so sure, but DGA is the one that matters the most. So yeah, I think that could be I could see Peter Farrelly getting in. Like, again, we have seen stranger things happen. Morton Tildum for The Imitation Game is one of those things. It's a movie that people like enough to bring the director along with, even if no one considers it like the directorial showcase as some of the others. So he could be that guy this year.
Yeah. Well, we haven't really talked much about TV, unfortunately. The TV does get short shrift at the Globes, especially at the end of the Globes when we get all the shockers. Was there anything else on the TV side that you found particularly exciting or shocking? I thought it was mostly stuff that I was expecting to see. I can't really recall something that really kind of, wow, I can't believe that won. Are either of you guys anything at all about the TV stuff before we finish up for today?
Well, for me, the big surprise for me is that my correct prediction rate was way better for TV than it was for film. I never would have guessed that at the beginning of the night. But a couple of things I loved. Ben Wishaw's win, his acceptance speech, his jacket. I want that tux right away. Darren Chris's tux. That was I'm loving men's fashion.
No, really. I have to disagree. I thought Darren Chris's tux was foul. But anyway, go on.
And the this is going back to the film guys, but the Black Panther panel presenting awards. It's oh my goodness, that was a fashion spread that I want on me immediately.
A lot of sequins.
Oh my goodness, it was fantastic. So yeah, the fashion is all I cared about on the TV side. I was proud to have gotten the Kaminsky method right. I will say that. I've been predicting that since, and that was a tough one because it could have gone 100 different ways. I thought they were going to go Kristen Bell instead of Rachel Brosnahan, but I got it right that they paired up Kaminsky and Michael Douglas. I got both supportings right, which when does that ever happen? I got limited series and limited series actor rights. And even though I got Best Drama Series wrong, as did very many of us, I was thrilled that it was The Americans, because, I mean, and they gave Americans before Best Drama Actress, so I was thinking, I think Carrie might be winning now, but they did go with Sandra Oh, as we all expected. So, but great for The Americans. I was very, very happy with that.
Yeah, Tony.
I want to say that the lackluster hosting. I actually thought Sandra Oh had more moments on the show than Andy Samberg did. I thought that her speech at the beginning, talking about seeing the change. I think some people in the audience thought she was going to do a bit, but it was
that was a weird moment where I thought it came after like a punchline, so the rhythm of it was just like I wasn't expecting the serious moment there.
But I thought that was great. I thought the stuff with her mom was really funny. As usual with the Globes, they didn't show up as much throughout the evening. That was probably a good thing. But I thought that the best for me, I was looking at the veterans who were just commanding that room. I thought Carol Burnett's speech was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, she was great.
And I thought a tinge of bittersweetness too, because it really does harken back to a time of television that we don't have anymore. And she was very honest about the fact that a show like the Carol Burnett Show couldn't exist today, and how sad that kind of is. And yet still, it wasn't a bummer of a speech. And I'm like, Carol Burnett, I love you. And Jeff Bridges, for as much as he is for all the Jeff Bridges-ness of everything, I thought that what he always emanates is just joy and happiness, and the show needed that, and I felt like between Carol Burnett and Regina King and Jeff Bridges and Glenn Close, really it was the veterans of the industry who really brought that show up in a way that I think the hosts couldn't. I felt like the whole opening stuff with them trying to be nice and giving everybody compliments, I thought that felt totally flat.
It was a clever idea, but I think it went like 6 or 7 too long. It's like we got the point after the first few.
We get the bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say one that you missed, Tony, because your cable cut out. Not one of the veterans, but Rami Malek also kind of brought it with that speech.
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, it was really good. There's so much more that we can unpack, but I thought it started off well, it got very boring in the middle, and then the end was just an explosion. It was, this is why I have watched and loved these types of award shows for 20 years, because of the surprises. And, I didn't agree with them, but they're very exciting to watch. So.
Oh, and Dick Van Dyke.
God love him.
I mean,
he's a million
Dick
years
Van Dyke,
old.
he's over 90, and I think he's just now using a cane. I mean, come on.
I know. I'm using a cane, and I'm 40 for God's sake. Anyway. Got him back.
It was great that everyone gave him a standing ovation except John Krasinski, who was the only one in the room who was giving the standing ovation for Emily Blunt.
I got the same thing. Like, you know what you're doing, mate. You're doing well. All right, thank you guys so much for joining me. As usual, your insights are really great. Thanks everybody for joining us at Gold Derby. Make sure you stick with us. This is the best website on the internet when it comes to awards coverage, and we've got much more to come. Critics' Choice next week, and then obviously more and more until the high holy day of the Oscars. Thanks everyone, and have a good